Hey again.
Hello.
Okay, so Leah just graduated.
Yes.
With her MFA.
I did.
In creative writing.
Yes, from Cal Arts,
Yeah.
California Institute of Arts in Valencia, California.
Okay. Where's Valencia, California?
In relation to Los Angeles, it is about a 30-minute drive north of the 5.
Okay.
Well, the 101 to the 170 to the 5.
Okay.
You know
Los
your stuff.
Angeles.
It's like, it's insane. As soon as you move there, you're like, oh.
It's a big
I get
city.
it now.
It's a huge city.
Huge.
There's not really in LA. It's like
It's just, it's gigantic.
somewhere.
In the same way that New York has a lot of neighborhoods,
Yeah.
it's like every place has a different vibe, but it's so much more spread out.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's a nice contrast.
So what was your concentration?
My concentration was in creative writing. It was poetry, but Cal Arts is wonderful in that they don't have. For me, it was wonderful in that they don't have a non-tracking curriculum, so you can sort of mess around and take whatever classes as you feel fit to your practice. So I would work with nonfiction as well.
Okay, so I know I know a little bit about you. So I know you have an interest in poetry. You've been writing poetry even before you went out to Cal Arts.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you decide on your thesis project? Because what did you write it on?
So my thesis project ended up being about 240 pages of how do I describe it? It's a poetic nonfiction hybrid piece that investigates dealings of women's mental and physical health through personal experience and historical mention. But it deals with it kind of tugs at a lot also, and it was a continuation actually of a project that I started doing my first semester at Cal Arts in a class called Documentary Strategies, which looks at poetics as a tool to sort of kind of record history in a new and more interesting way, and also to voice this certain. That's a good way. It's been obviously 2 years since I took this class, but it's just an amazing class. It's just like that. It's poetry has so many modes and so many ways in which you can use it, and that in this class it was in some form or another seeking justice through poetic narrative, or at least recognition and just giving a voice to unrepresented or underrepresented people in some way.
And I really like the expansion of all of these original traditional art forms,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even ballet, they're now dancing ballet to hip hop.
Yeah,
totally.
totally.
So you're doing nonfiction and poetry. Where, did you always have an interest in nonfiction, or was this a new arrival for you when you went to Cal Arts?
It was definitely a new arrival for me. I think that I felt very sort of afraid about writing about myself, honestly, and poetry kind of had a veil in front of that. As much it was about myself or whatever, there was a separation a little bit. That there was more of a performance. There, the linguistic things happening gave sort of a cover to. It was the disguise that they put on or something. I'm not sure. It wasn't so bare bones as much as nonfiction can be in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I sort of just was I'm doing this in poetry. Why not expand in fiction? And also looking for ways in which to, one thing that I think poetry gets a bad rap for is being really abstract, or the reader not knowing what it's actually about.
Yeah.
And while that can be such a beautiful thing as it allows for multiple interpretations and sort of just an openness and loveliness in its own way, and a million other things, I was interested in this idea of this is my life, and here's a linear progression of it, and here's something that's a little more abstract, and here are different ways in which I think about how I'm going about my life. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's something I'm just starting with very, very soon, very quickly. But no.
So why? I mean, at what point were you okay, I'm just gonna go with this nonfiction, even though it is just so personal?
Yeah.
How did you get over that hump of fear, or just I have to write this? I guess.
Hump of fear. I love the hump of fear.
I'm just making up words.
Yeah, that was so excellent. I love that phrase. That's going in a poem tonight, hopefully. How did I get over the hump of fear? That's a good question, but I think best answered through the book Allison Cobb's work, Greenwood, which is about a actually, I think it's a cemetery in either Brooklyn or Queens, and it is a very sort of like a patchwork piece that takes found language from the cemetery and her own description of the cemetery, her own poetry of like taking walks around this really huge, expansive Greenwood cemetery, and then a lot of the things had to do with 9/11 because I believe a lot of different people are buried there who were killed in the attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like such an amazing approach that it really is intuitive in like how you address each topic. Like, do you feel that this is something that deserves a real broken down, like laid out sort of narrative structure, or something that you can, it's like almost so impossible to like truly decipher that you kind of just gotta like throw up a few words when you can.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's how I feel about it anyways. It's a really beautiful book. And I think just like the sort of element of hybridity and the encouragement to experiment in the CalArts program, and the reading lists that the faculty were coming up with was just like so interesting and new and fresh and encouraging, in that like you wouldn't be the first person to do any of this, but you'll be the first person to do what you end up doing.
So what were the top 3 books that you read during your MFA program?
Okay, that's a good question. The Collected Works of Billy the Kid by Michael Ondaatje. And that was in Tisa Bryant's hybrid writing class. And actually, I was passing through New Mexico and I saw a sign for Fort Sumner where Billy the Kid is buried. And I called. I was like, "Hey Siri, call Billy the Kid Museum." And the guy was like, "Hello, miss. How can I?" And he's like,
I don't have a phone number for Billy.
Oh my God,
We're calling Siri.
that's so funny.
All right, so Billy the Kid, and then what are the other 2?
The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson, and I like obviously have a personal bias because Maggie's the director of the program, and I was able to work with her.
Wow.
I took 2 different really amazing classes with her, and just have gotten to know her, and she's such a wonderful. She's my second reader on my thesis.
Okay.
So she's just like, I can't speak highly enough of her, and probably Greenwood by Allison Cobb is the third.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you got it. Top 3, and then what's your advice for someone who wants to join an MFA program and they want to find the right one for them?
It's so tricky because money is such an issue, and funding for some programs is like, it's like fully funded and you get a stipend and it's amazing, and then other ones can be also equally amazing. CalArts for one does not have the best funding, but I just felt so drawn to it. I think in a way, like, you should just definitely follow your gut, but don't overcommit to something that is going to send you into a total tailspin. In a way, I'm sort of like in so much student debt that I'm like, I'm already fucked. Might as well just like
bucket some more,
like, throw more money into the endless pit. But at the same rate, it felt so intuitive to me at the time. I'm not such a logical person sometimes. That is a huge fault. But yeah, I think it's to like go with your gut and to give yourself time. Like, if it's not the right time to do it, that's okay. You don't need to do it right out of undergrad, or you don't need to do it. You don't need to wait 20 years to do it either. So I don't know. Yeah, I think. But if you're seeking it out, it's so worth it. I would also encourage people to try and do some community writing workshops if they've never studied creative writing in a more academic setting before, to try that workshop environment and see what you think at first.
So you're really great. You're so motivated, and you get so many things done. You have your own magazine called
Potluck Magazine, potluckmag.com.
And you also you created these readings, I remember.
Oh,
back
yeah.
in your apartment or close to it in Brooklyn.
Oh, me,
How
you,
did
and
you?
I forgot about that.
How did you do all that? I think everyone I know, they're just like, how do you do this? How do you get started?
I think with each one of those things, and with countless other examples, it's all about, because those are not my things exclusively by any means. They were a shared dream or idea, or dream sounds like such a silly word, oh, it's our dream to host 50 drunk 22-year-olds in our apartment. But at the same rate, it was this would be so cool. I think that the sort of the nexus of all of it was that we're like so lucky. Multiple people feel so lucky to know so many talented people, and I just have a natural sort of, not necessarily curation, but like just like an event planning sort of motivation to me. And yeah, it's just kind of like, how do we celebrate all these talented people in some way, and especially like in our specific passions, and how do we bring them together to have fun and to like also to like just like celebrate, I think is an optimal word, the key word for it all, because I think that especially like New York literary scene can be overly critical and nasty sometimes, and I'm not into that. So I'm like, I think it's the privilege of being around so many other talented people, and especially being close friends with other people. For me and you, it was my two best friends, Caroline Hayes and Ashley Darcy. And then for Potluck Magazine, the original founders were Alex Seidman, John Sirico, Melissa Cronin, and Nate Cabral. And then Mark Yearsley is kind of in the middle. And Alex has since kind of fallen away due to busy life things, which is so, I mean, like, how do you not?
But it's still going.
It's still going, Nate, Melissa, and John have like really kept it afloat so beautifully while I was finishing my thesis, and I'm so grateful for that. You know, I'm so looking forward to getting back into that community of like independent lit mags and independent lit sites. It's like such an amazing place to be on the internet and like in real life. So
who created the website? How did you guys come up with the idea? You know, who made the logo? It's a beautiful logo.
Oh yeah, Max Sheebley. Oh my God, Max Sheebley is like one of the founders as well. But he was like more the artistic like side of it all. So I guess that's maybe why I neglected to mention that. But let's see. It's just a Squarespace site. Okay. None of us have any really tech savvy skills.
And how do you share the cost? Squarespace costs like $150
a
year. Okay.
Yeah, so we kind of just like threw money into the pot.
Okay.
At the beginning, we're like, I'm happy to put like $30 or $35 or whatever towards this. And our second year, we renewed with funds that we had gathered from selling our magazine, which we had done with through a Kickstarter. So I think we earned about $2,000 to come up with a magazine. We designed it ourselves on a website called Blurb, and it was just like very elementary, like an amateur, like layout designer kind of, like what's the word? Not aficionado, like sort of just like an apprentice to an apprentice kind of person. And so it's like, and it was just totally a joint effort as well. So we all kind of had input on the design and the layout and how we wanted the font to look and etc. And then Max Sheebley, who started this all up with us, he is an amazingly talented artist illustrator and came up with some drawings and things, but we had to come up with a name, and that was such a struggle for us for some reason. And
I think that is a struggle for like every founder, or like for every person.
Perfect. And so we were sitting around forever, and it was great. It was right after we graduated from NYU as a bunch of undergrads. Alex was still going into NYU at the time, and we'd always gotten together, and like someone would bring a joint, and someone would bring a couple bottles of wine, and some people would bring like salad and like dessert, and like whoever's house it was like in charge of like the entree. And we just always have potluck dinners together. And we were sitting around like racking our brains. We were like, the last slice of pizza. No, that's too long. The fold out couch. Like we wanted this element of like inclusivity in that like people who have not yet gotten their artistic careers started have this like little step stool on which they can like ascend the ladder and like just get a little name, like
a little win.
Little win for something, for encouragement, but also at the same time to create a space in which people can come around and share their things together, and so not only provide things, material and artistic material, but also take in all of the other things that other people are bringing. And so I was like, I remember I was sitting Indian style in my Native American. No, crisscross applesauce. Jesus, that was so weird. I was sitting crisscross applesauce in my living room in Crown Heights, and we were all just like sitting around, just like, what the hell do we name this? And I just like looked at my phone or thought of a plan that we were having for like another night. I was like, Potluck! Like, screamed it, and we all just freaked out. Like, we're like, that's it, finally. It was like such a relief. And so Max drew up this amazing logo. He's really obsessed with chairs and stuff, and it was perfect because we're like, yeah, pull up a chair to the table.
Oh,
At Potluck.
great.
Yeah.
It's such a great image. Okay, so what's next?
What's
for
next
you?
for me? This summer, I still have a lot of this road trip, obviously, to handle. I have a lot of amazing stops to make.
Where are you headed?
After New York, I'm going to Amherst, Massachusetts for the Juniper Institute Writers Residency at UMass Amherst. And then I'm going up into Vermont. Oh, no, first Boston to visit friends, Rhode Island to visit a cousin, up to Vermont to visit a few friends, and then Buffalo to where I'm from to visit family and friends, then through Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Rapid City, South Dakota, where Black Mountains National Park is.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of it.
It's just supposed to be really beautiful, and I didn't have any like goals there, and my friends just mentioned it. My friends said mentioned it, so I was like, okay, perfect. And then down to Salt Lake City in Utah.
What?
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
I know, because I got to go back to LA somehow, so drive through that way, and then
So not Nebraska, not going this way.
no, not. I was gonna try and do the whole East Coast and then West Coast thing, and I was like, no, I wouldn't be so
a long
tired.
trip.
And I haven't done any of that, like San Francisco or Portland or Seattle or anything like that. And I was like, I kind of don't want to lump this all together. I'm going to give myself some time. So maybe in August or something, I will feel like comfortable enough to like get back in my car for more than an hour drive. Try that then.
Okay. Amazing.
And then beyond the road trip, probably just continuing writing, getting back on the horse with Potluck now that my thesis is relatively out in the world in a sense, and also working on that as my first manuscript to send out. Waitressing, probably.
No, I mean the week at Amherst is amazing to get into a residency.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so great.
It's really, it's like so affirming to have my work recognized as being like good enough for something like that. Because I don't know, I'm sure there's just like another like at least 100 amazing writers. I'm not totally sure of the program size, but I'm sure it's going to be so phenomenal.
So to end this, do you think we could read one of your poems? Maybe you could read one of your poems? Or maybe you could try to read it and sing it to Lemonade?
I don't know if I could do that. That would be impressive.
Yeah.
Let me, let's see. I'm going to go, let's
have you read.
I don't trust my phone very much. Oh, this is old. That's from 2013. I guess it's not synced to upgrade. Oh, iCloud. There we go. Alright. Okay, this is from May 25th, 2016.
Okay, so it's a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is not edited at all. This is very raw. Like,
here.
Just whatever. Can't get no Wi-Fi up in this bitch, so I guess I'm gonna rough it, old-time style. What does it mean to sit at the intersection of nothing and nowhere? What does it mean to ask what it means? What about this guy who's talking to himself and that girl sitting in her coffee? Chunky rings on her chunky fingers, typing furiously like she has something important to say. Oh, and that happens when you are that girl, and you are also so well aware of the fact that everyone inside of this coffee shop is also trying to write like they have something to say. Where do you find the faith that what you think matters? Where do you find the courage to hope that theirs does too, but just not as much as yours? Because sorry everyone, this place, this rat race, just outside of Hollywood in Highland Park, is so in sync with capitalism and bullshit. But I feel like that problem right here is all I ever write about without making anything go away or fixed or solved. So I guess I'll just keep sitting here, essentially doing nothing.
That's amazing! That's so good!
You gotta do a little editing there, but
yeah, I love the chunky fingers. Thank you so much.
Ching ching, you're amazing.
You're amazing.
Bye.